when people start calling a bag basic, actually, it starts going out of fashion unless people want it, because same with the Neverfull, I don't see it as much as I used to. Hey guys, welcome to my channel, I'm Jess. So sometimes I like talking to people who are a lot younger than me and ask them what bags they want to buy in the future. You know, when I was 18, 19, I would have never really have dreamed to buy a designer bag. It wasn't until I was in my late 20s that I started getting into handbags, but I've noticed that these days designer handbags have become much more normal. For where I live, designer bags are kind of like just a thing to get, and I've noticed a lot of younger people, like between the ages of like 18 to 22, start to buy designer handbags or save up to buy them. And I think it's really interesting the sort of styles that they tend to be drawn to. I'm of the opinion, I have a theory that a lot of the styles that younger people go towards, people who have been collecting for a while would say that those bags are somewhat basic. And I wanted to talk about bags that we perceive as being basic and whether they are good to buy, or whether I think you should buy them, or they just, you know, are just too basic and, you know, you shouldn't buy them. Now, when I think of a stereotypical basic bag, I would, for me, that the definition of a basic bag is a bag that when you're very early on in your handbag journey, it's like a bag that you first get. And it's not like the most expensive bag, but it's like a bag that you've dreamed about owning for years, or it could be just a bag that you want to use for day to day. So I find a lot of bags that people call basic are actually very practical day-to-day bags. And when I think of a stereotypical basic bag, I do think of, firstly, the Neverfull. Now, I have never owned a Neverfull bag, and I think that's because I've never had the need to buy or like to use such a big tote bag, apart from my Telfar bag, actually. I think the reason why I've never bought a Neverfull is because I always thought that for the style of it, like a big oversized tote, I wouldn't buy an expensive bag for that reason. However, I think that the Neverfull is actually a pretty good bag because it's a bag that you could literally use every day for work. You're still getting that little designer fix because it has the, you know, usually it will have a monogram on it or the damier bean, and it's just a cult favorite because of how practical and light it is. I think it can also, like, the straps are actually very durable. It can hold like quite a hefty weight. And they're bags that people literally just have for years and years. You can take it to the beach, you can take it everywhere. Although they are, you do see, to be honest guys, I don't see a lot of people wearing Neverfulls where I live as much as I used to. I think it's kind of maybe become less popular recently. I don't know, I just don't see a lot of people wearing Neverfulls as much anymore. But I was talking to one of my friends who was like younger, like 19, and they said that they really want to get a Neverfull, and I thought that was really interesting because, yeah, I feel like a Neverfull is something when you're early on, a lot of people tend to go for the Neverfull as like one of their first bags, and I think that's why a lot of people look down on it. I think psychologically we have this feeling like we evolve as our, you know, fashion sense changes always as we get older, and then, you know, maybe when you're earlier on in your journey, you got a Neverfull and you think, oh, you know, I'm better than that. I can't buy Neverfull anymore. Like, I'm at Chanel level now or whatever. And people will say the Neverfull is basic. But the thing is, it's just a very practical bag, and people go for it first because it's not the most expensive bag you can get, and it's very useful. But I think because it's been, you know, it is so popular, people call it boring and, you know, just nothing special. But I mean, a Neverfull, it's not nothing. I don't know, I've never had the urge to buy a Neverfull, but I don't think it's a waste of money to buy one because I see the appeal in it. It's very practical, and you're getting a really large piece of the monogram canvas for the price. I mean, it is rather expensive now, but, you know, in the past it was actually a really good price. So yeah, I mean, I think a Neverfull is worth buying if you use tote bags, and you're definitely going to get your Louis Vuitton fix from a Neverfull. Second bag I would say is probably, like, what springs to my mind is the Saint Laurent envelope wallet on chain. I know when I was like earlier on in my luxury journey, Saint Laurent envelope wallet on chain was like talked about so much on YouTube. I think because it's just, you know, such an easy clubbing bag. You can kind of dress it up really easily, and the price point is not super crazy. It's also a very durable leather. Like, it's in the GDP grain, which is like, I don't know, it feels a bit plasticky, but it is really resilient, and especially if you like partying and stuff. And also it makes a real statement because it's got that massive YSL logo on the front. And yeah, I just think that, I don't know, for me, it's also a style I've never been drawn to because I think it's very loud, like that giant logo in the front. And I'm not a huge fan of wallet on chains because I just feel like they don't really fit that much. And I'm kind of the opinion that wallet on chain bags are gonna like not exist in like 10 years because we don't really use as many cards as we used to. We're kind of like using everything on our phone these days. So the wallet on chain concept is kind of starting to become a little bit dated to have all those like card slots. Just like how people use, like, a lot of people still use long wallets, but a lot of younger people will not carry around a long wallet. Like, they tend to carry like card holders. Same with like a wallet on chain. I feel like it's just like a big wallet and you may as well just have like a micro bag or something and then your phone. But anyways, nonetheless, I feel like the YSL wallet on chain is something that a lot of younger people go for when they start out buying bags. And yeah, I don't know, maybe some people call it basic. Yeah, I don't know, guys. It's nothing that I've never really had the urge to buy one, but I know that's a really popular bag if you're younger. Another basic bag that I noticed, I don't know if this is so basic anymore. I've seen it a lot less, but the Givenchy Antigona, I remember there was a time where a lot of people on YouTube were talking about the Givenchy Antigona, and I had friends that it was like their dream bag. Givenchy Antigona for Givenchy was probably like a breakthrough bag for them. Riccardo Tisci designed it, I'm pretty sure, and yeah, do I think it's basic? I mean, there was a period where a lot of people were buying it, like it was very trendy at one point, but now I feel like it's kind of past a point where it's not as basic as it used to be. Like, I feel like basic means oversaturated and overpopular and still not extremely expensive for designer bags. But the Antigona, to be honest, I think it's a really nice bag because it has this really hefty hardware on it. They seem to hold up really well as well. Like, the leather seems quite substantial, and I think the price point is actually still really good for such a substantial bag. Even if you go on the website now, guys, I think that the pricing is really good for Givenchy. I'm not a huge fan of Givenchy, the brand in general, like the style, but the Antigona seems like quite a nice bag. So I see the appeal in it, and I see why a lot of people go for it as their first bag. Another like beginner's bag that springs to my mind is definitely like the Gucci Soho disco bag. Yeah, I mean, when you're starting out with luxury bags, this is a really practical one to go for. I know when I was getting into luxury, I really wanted a Soho disco bag. I liked the look of the really grainy leather and just the kind of more subtle old school stitched logo. I ended up getting a bamboo shopper tote. You know, that was actually one of my first designer bags, and I loved that bag, but I didn't really want the Gucci Soho Disco, and I loved the tassel on it and everything. And this was a bag that was, I don't know, it was super popular for ages, and now a lot of people started calling it basic, to be honest. And I think when people start calling a bag basic, actually, it starts going out of fashion and less people want it, because same with the Neverfull, I don't see it as much as I used to. I know it's still a popular bag, but there was a time where it was like a lot of people had it. Same with the Antigona, same with the Soho Disco, but now I don't really see it as much. So they're, in a way, they're basic, but they're also classic. So I feel like they're bags that they've really had a moment and that they will come back in time. And they're actually bags that work. Like, they're very practical. They work well with lots of outfits, and they're not overly expensive. So that's why they are so popular. So I think the Gucci Soho Disco, honestly, I think it's a really nice bag. It's very plain. It's kind of boring, but I see the appeal as like a starter bag. I think it's very practical. And finally, I think another kind of basic bag that I think of is the Loewe basket bag. This bag I think has so much appeal because when it first came out, the price point was amazing. I bought it myself for like, I don't know, like $400. And I would say this bag is kind of basic because Well, I mean, for Loewe, it's not like their most amazing bag. I think Loewe have so many incredible bags that no one else buys. Like, there's so many interesting designs that they have that no one talks about, like the Amazona, and like, I don't know, I don't see a lot of people talking about like the hammock as much, or a lot of people talk about the puzzle, but I noticed that there was a period where everyone was buying the basket, and I just think that it kind of did get a little bit oversaturated, and to be honest, it's just a basket, guys. Like, you could get a basket at any market. It's just because it has that big Loewe branding on it, and that it's obviously a designer brand. And I think a lot of similarities that these basic bags have is that they're like obviously a designer brand, and when you're starting out on your luxury journey, you want a bag that looks obviously designer but is not going to break the bank. So I would say the Loewe basket is also kind of a basic bag. Not that it's a bad bag. I don't know, I bought it and then I returned it because I just didn't think it was even worth the money I paid, and now it's like double in price. But yeah, I don't know, guys. I think we look down on bags that are kind of, we put into this basic category, but the thing is, guys, they're just really popular bags because usually they're very practical. They're obviously a designer brand, and I mean, they're very successful designs. So there's nothing bad about it. If you buy a basic bag, to be honest, it's probably not a dumb thing to do because they're bags that work. They'll probably come back in fashion again because they're so recognizable and iconic. And yeah, I don't know. I guess for me, I wouldn't say, I mean, some people say a Birkin is basic, but honestly, guys, you've got to be stupid. In my opinion, you have to be stupid to say a Birkin is basic. It is so expensive. Like, when you're starting out, there's no comprehension that you would buy a Birkin or a classic flap. Like, a classic flap is also not basic. I think basic bags tend to be almost within reach, like you could save up and buy it, but these kinds of bags are just like off the chart. Like, you would not even consider it when you're starting out. Personally, I wouldn't, especially when you're younger. Maybe when you're older and, you know, you're retired, maybe if you haven't bought a designer bag, you just go straight for a Birkin, then yes, I get it. But when you're younger, like 18, 19, I don't think you're necessarily going to buy a Birkin first. Maybe you'd buy Gucci Soho Disco or Givenchy Antigona or something. And yeah, anyways, I don't know, guys. I was just thinking about this today. I'm like, why are some bags considered basic and some aren't? And why do we perceive it like this? And yeah, I don't know, guys. I think having a basic collection is actually a pretty smart thing to do because they're just bags that are very successful designs. So anyways, that's all I had to say about that. But let me know, what do you think? Are there any other like basic bags you haven't bought because you think they're too basic? Or do you own a lot of basic bags? Do you like bags that are like a lot of people own and that you trust in? Or do you like to buy things that are a bit weird and like no one else has and might be a bit impractical? Yeah, because I feel like there are some brands that, like, I would say like none of their bags are basic. Like, for example, Fendi, I don't really think they have any basic bags. Hermes, no basic bags, to be honest. Chanel, you could argue a wallet on chain is basic, but at this price now, it's not. So yeah, I don't know, guys. Anyways, that was a random video today. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you on my next one. Bye!